Hey, you. Yes, you, Brandon. Let me ask you something. How happy are you with yourself? I don't mean that in some sort of deep metaphysical or spiritual sense. I mean, how happy are you with the state of you, your body, your fitness? Do you work out regularly? Semi-regularly? Well, if the answer to either of those is yes, then this video may not be for you. See, I'm interested in the people who look at themselves and know somewhere deep down that their body is just not in a good state. People who get jealous, not of 10 out of 10 bodies, but of people who seem to be of average or even slightly below average shape. This video is for people who can't carry a bag of groceries up a flight of stairs without being full-blown winded, and that makes part of them unhappy. Is that you? Do you see someone that's just out jogging and think, I wish I could do that? Well, I have something to tell you, and this is very, very important. You can do that. I don't mean that like some cheesy motivational speaker telling you that the power is in you and you just need to unlock your animal self. I mean, you can do that, and the process of being able to, regularly and triumphantly, is actually much simpler than you may think. See, I've done the work. I took the problem that was the physical state of myself, broke it down to the core fundamental problems, and rebuilt it using systems development. I'm going to tell you about it, and I don't want your money or your adoration or even your gratitude. I just want you to listen to my story, and if you find it at all helpful, if it gets you out there seeking a better, healthier version of yourself, then that is more than I could ever hope for. It was the first year of my second attempt at going to college. It's my second semester, and I'm knocking out the required course credits, and I had that physical fitness credit that most schools require. It's a complete slack-off class, and I went in not expecting much, but man, I was wrong. The professor was a woman in her 40s who was very intense about fitness and had that infectious sort of enthusiastic personality. She had played and coached Division I basketball, but the most important part is that she had also gone through numerous bouts with cancer and once needed open heart surgery. But she was still here, still standing and still fighting. So when someone like that tells you that she works out vigorously every single day, it makes an impact. It made me look deeply at myself. So while nearly everyone else in this class was just kind of breezing through it, I took it as seriously as I did any other course. So seriously that I developed a fitness routine, wrote a paper about it, and presented it at a conference. On the first day of that class, we all weighed ourselves, and I came in at 295 pounds. On the day of the conference I presented at, 205. Now I'm going to tell you the three most important things that I learned from that physical fitness class. 1. Cardio is the healthiest form of exercise you can do for your body and overall health. 2. Running is still the best form of cardio, as it strengthens more of the body's systems and musculature than any other form of exercise. 3. When you do cardio, it takes about 30 minutes before it starts becoming effective. Think of it like this. If you went outside and ran as fast as you possibly could for 30 seconds, in terms of physical benefit, it really wouldn't hold a candle to just leisurely walking for an hour straight. Okay, so those are the three most important parts of getting healthy. Immediately we have a problem because we have to run, which I can't do all that well. And we have to do it for more than 30 minutes, which I couldn't do if my life depended on it. So here is where the first lesson of my program comes in. If you can't do something, make that something out of things that you can do. I got some running shoes and started performing tests. If I can't run for 30 minutes, how long can I run? I immediately encountered a problem because I can't run and tell time at the same time. That's just too confusing. Okay, so we have to use something that isn't time. How many of something can I run for? I tried running again and found that I could count the sound of my feet hitting the pavement in the steady rhythm of my running steps. So I started counting my steps, and I found myself getting tired as I was approaching 100. So I stopped at 100. Then I started walking, but reset the counter and counted my walking steps. When I'd walked 100 steps, I felt like I could run some more, so I did. Now I know you might be thinking, that sounds really monotonous and boring, and you're absolutely right. But boring and monotonous actually works in our favor here. Because you know what you're not thinking about when you're counting from 1 to 100 with every step you take over and over? The burning. You know why running is so hard? Why it seems so impossible? It's because for an extended period of time, it doesn't just hurt, it feels like a full-body catastrophe. Your body is effectively mimicking the signs of trauma. Your heart races, you sweat profusely, blood shoots all over your body, you're hot, and your muscles feel like they're on fire. Every signal going to your brain is telling you that you are in trouble and you need to stop whatever you're doing immediately. But here's the other thing you need to know, and my second lesson. Your body is very often wrong. I know that sounds dangerous, but think of it with a bit of common sense. I don't mean that you should ignore a bone sticking out of your skin or the signs of a stroke. I mean that your body is actually much more capable than you probably think it is. It can withstand more and perform more than people like us often realize. By just counting, I had tricked my brain to stop trying to get me to stop. Like your folks buying you a stupid toy just so you leave them alone. The other neat side effect this had is that when I ran, I knew precisely when I would be stopping. Running long distances seems impossible because the onus on stopping rests entirely on your weak, burning legs getting you to whatever finish line you're aiming for. But by placing that control in my brain with a task that wasn't running, by giving my mind a series of goals and the control, the impossible suddenly seemed possible. So we have 100 and 100. That's how long I could run and how long I could walk before I felt like running again. Not impressive by any means, but that led to my next question. How far can I go? I took the simplest form of measurement I could think of, the block that I lived on, and found that after 10 trips around the block at 100, I was cooked. So to recap, I could run for 100 steps, walk for 100 steps, for 10 trips around the block. Now this is the third and most important lesson. Know your baseline. If you're watching this and you think that the prospect of doing what I've described so far sounds too far-fetched for you, that's okay. If you think that running is something you just don't want to do, that's okay too. But if you're going to try and improve your physical fitness, no matter what you do, you need to know precisely what you are capable of. Precisely. So that you can make precise changes in order to improve what you are capable of. So I had my baseline, 100 by 100 by 10. The next day I went out and tried to repeat it, and we had another problem. I was counting my steps in my head and found that with all of this counting, I would easily lose track of what lap I was on. Counting to 100 meant I couldn't count to 10. So I made some tweaks. Instead of a 1 block radius, I changed it to 2 and reduced the total number of laps from 10 to 5. Despite this, I would still lose count of what lap I was on, often confusing laps 3 and 4 because those were the hardest ones. So I went back to the drawing board. I had to find a way to count laps while also counting my steps in a way that was intuitive and hopefully added something to the routine. I thought back to Super Mario Kart of all things, and how after every lap, Lakitu would float around you in a cloud with a sign signaling what lap you were on. Now, finishing a lap felt immensely satisfying, like it deserved something to signal how far I'd gone and urging me to keep pressing forward. So, at the end of every lap, I held up my hand, counting the lap I was now on. And I did this enthusiastically too, like I was cheering myself on, and I probably looked silly, but it worked. I could remember what number came next because I looked forward to recognizing it with a physical action. I was now counting, now both in my head and on my hand, measuring every step of my progress, every lap, and pushing me forward. And let me tell you, when I started that 5th lap, holding up my hand with all 5 fingers extended was intensely satisfying. It made something I couldn't do by cobbling together simple things that I could. So I went out and kept doing it, running 2 days before resting on the 3rd. Now, was any of this impressive? Again, not really. But here is where that baseline comes into play. After a while, doing the same thing over and over became easier. And because I knew precisely what I was doing down to the very last step with the baseline I'd established, I could make small incremental changes. After the first month, 100 steps of running became 110. After another month, 100 steps of walking became 90. I was able to gradually push myself further and further as my body became fitter and in better shape. That's pretty much it. That's the entire system. There's no ending where I became a physical specimen or a marathon runner. I was able to get my weight down to a reasonable place, and I was in reasonably good shape. Eventually, I made it to 130/70, but once I started going to school full-time while working full-time, my running routine suffered. Since then, I would find time for runs for a few months at a time before something would just come up and I couldn't maintain it. But today, I'm back at 110/90 and still trying to keep it up. It's a struggle, but I'm still here fighting. If you're a regular runner, you could probably torch me by any metric. But again, this video is just supposed to be a guide for people that think of getting in shape by running as being akin to raising the dead or boxing with God. Now, let's say you've heard my tale and you want to try this for yourself. Great. I'm now going to tell you an assortment of things that I wish someone had told me when I started. When I say count your steps, I don't mean go run as fast as you can count. You don't need to be Sonic. Just try counting your steps while you walk. You'll find that your counting falls into a natural rhythm with your body. Here's my precise running rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now here's my walking rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. After a while, the steps and the counting just sort of marry to each other. Okay, so let's say for the sake of argument that you've gone out and you've done your first run. Congratulations. Your body feels like hell, but you probably feel an amazing sense of satisfaction that you should genuinely be very proud of. Now here comes the bad news. No matter what sense of accomplishment you feel right now, and no matter what you say to yourself, tomorrow your mind is going to try and trick you into thinking that you don't need to go back out there and do the second one. It will use every rationalization it can muster to convince you not to do that again tomorrow. So you know what? Tomorrow, pop some ibuprofen, wait an hour, and do it anyway. Overcoming that voice and running when you don't want to is one of the best and most satisfying feelings you will ever experience in your lifetime. Are you a woman? Great. Are you a man? Okay, listen up. I know we don't wear sports bras, but you need something. Go to Goodwill or Ross and buy a couple running tops. Something tight-fitting to run in. You ever see blood coming out of your nipples? Looking like you just breastfed Baraka? It's not pretty and it hurts like hell. While I'm on the subject, get a box of Band-Aids just in case. While we're on the subject of men, are you maybe on the lonely side? Don't get too much attention from the ladies? Hey man, I get it, but guess what? If you get out there, they will catcall you. Probably not at first because you're out of shape and you look like you're going into cardiac arrest, but it won't take long. They'll see you out there enough times and they'll notice your effort and they will be Myron. So if that's important to you, you're going to be rewarded much faster than you may think. At some point your feet are going to hurt like hell, and it's probably because you're running in sneakers or subpar running shoes. If money is tight, just forget about Nike or spending $150 on anything premium. Do a little research on the quality styles and brands of running shoes, the kind that other runners use. New Balance is my go-to. And buy them on eBay. Yes, secondhand. See, what's great about getting in shape is that most people try it and almost no one does it. So people buy things they never use, like gym memberships. This is where we swoop in and reap their benefit. You can find all kinds of remnants of other people's failures at secondhand stores. Oh, and the first time you go out and run in a well-made, well-fitting running shoes, it feels like you're walking on clouds. It's absolutely insane. I've said this before, but it bears repeating. Don't think you can run 100 steps, walk for 100 more, and repeat? Great. But don't give up on it. Try 50 to 100, or 50-150, or hell, 20-200. Anything but throwing in the towel. Try the counting, find your baseline, and get to work on improving it. It will take you a while, but the benefits to your health, self-esteem, and self-worth will be immeasurable. Hit me up if you have any questions, and you stay beautiful.